Many modern games rely on perfectly symmetrical components to ensure fairness. Chess operates on a different principle. It is built on a deep, structural asymmetry. Looking at these 12th century Lewis chessmen, you can see how the game's design has historically reflected uneven ranks. These aren't uniform soldiers. They are distinct specialists with radically different physical capabilities. The core tension of the game is that your entire army exists to protect one piece, the king. If he falls, you lose. Yet for all his importance, he remains one of the most vulnerable units on the board. To navigate a match, you must move beyond looking at the board as a simple grid and start accounting for the irregular rules of movement that define each piece. Your strategy is built on the interaction between the superpowers and the fatal flaws of three specific units: the king, the knight, and the pawn. The king is the leader of the army, and his superpower is absolute directional freedom. From his current square, he can step in any direction, up, down, sideways, or diagonally. But his fatal flaw is his lack of speed. Despite being able to move in any direction, he can only travel one step at a time. This makes him the slowest unit in your entire arsenal. Because losing him ends the game, the king cannot afford to be on the front lines. He spends most of the match hiding behind walls of other pieces while his soldiers fight the war for him. Every strategic choice you make is a calculation of how to keep this slow-moving leader safe while still projecting power across the board. The knight is the board's trickster. Modeled as cavalry, it's the only unit capable of ignoring physical barriers that stop every other piece. Its superpower is the jump. The knight moves in a strict L shape, 1, 2 squares, then turn the corner. It is the only piece that can leap directly over a solid line of obstacles. However, jumping doesn't mean capturing. The knight doesn't take the pieces it leaps over. It only captures whatever is sitting on its final landing square. While agile, the knight is relatively slow at crossing the entire board, and it is limited by a strict geometric quirk. Every time a knight jumps, it is forced to change the color of its square. If it starts on a light square, it must land on a dark one, and then back to light on the next jump. This makes the knight an unparalleled close-quarters fighter, capable of threatening zones that other pieces simply cannot reach. The pawn is your most plentiful unit, but it carries a significant fatal flaw. It is the only piece on the board that can never move backward. Its capture mechanic is also restricted. A pawn marches straight forward, but it cannot attack what is directly in front of it. It can only capture pieces sitting one step away at a diagonal angle. To help it reach the front lines, the pawn gets a superpower on its very first move. It can choose to move 2 squares forward instead of just 1. If a pawn survives the march to the opposite edge of the board, it undergoes promotion. It transforms into a more powerful piece, usually a queen. This creates a paradox. The pawn is designed to be your weakest unit, but its potential to transform makes it a looming threat that your opponent cannot ignore. Together, their asymmetric moves create a race. A king and knight must stop advancing pawns. Overlapping the king's one-step radius with the knight's L jumps forms a defensive net. If the pawn reaches the edge, queening square, it promotes, shifting the power balance. This spatial calculation is exactly what has captivated competitive minds for generations. Mastering chess isn't about memorizing every possible move. It's about exploiting these specific asymmetries, balancing the limitations of a slow king and a blind pawn against their hidden potential.